Tonight, let us drift back into the sands of ancient Egypt, where golden temples gleamed under the desert sun, and the voices of priests echoed within stone chambers, built to last forever. Egypt was a land of certainty. The Nile rose and fell with a steady rhythm, the sun crossed the same endless sky, and kings were believed to be divine, chosen to rule in both life and death. Pharaohs were not meant to vanish. They were meant to endure forever, their names carved into stone, their bodies wrapped and preserved, their tombs hidden but never forgotten. And yet, one ruler slipped into silence. His reign ended, his body disappeared, and even his name was erased. Tonight, we explore the strange mystery of the pharaoh who vanished without a trace. His name, at least the one that has come down to us, was Smenkhkare, a pharaoh of Egypt's 18th dynasty, living in the turbulent years around 1336 BCE during the reign of Akhenaten and the dawn of Tutankhamun. The 18th dynasty was one of Egypt's most dazzling, filled with rulers like Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Amenhotep III, and Akhenaten, who tried to turn Egypt's religion upside down. But it was also a dynasty where sudden deaths, erased monuments, and vanished rulers left behind tantalizing mysteries. And none is more elusive than Smenkhkare, who flickers in the records for the briefest moment before disappearing entirely. The Egyptians believed in Ma'at, the cosmic order. Everything had its place, and the pharaoh's role was to keep that balance between gods and humans. Death itself was not an end, but a transformation. Kings would be buried in elaborate tombs with treasures and spells to carry them into eternity. For a pharaoh to be forgotten was unthinkable. To have no tomb, no inscriptions, no memory, that was a fate worse than death. Yet this is exactly what happened to Smenkhkare. When historians and archaeologists try to trace his story, they find only fragments, a name carved here, a faint inscription there, a royal seal, a ring, perhaps a depiction on a crumbling wall. But no great monuments proclaim his rule. No mummy lies in a gilded coffin bearing his cartouche. His reign seems to have lasted perhaps a year, maybe even less. And then he was gone. Some believe he was Akhenaten's co-regent, ruling alongside the heretic Pharaoh who abandoned Egypt's old gods and built a new capital at Amarna. Akhenaten worshipped only one deity, the radiant Aten, the sun disk, and forced his kingdom to follow. It was a radical, dangerous experiment, and it shook Egypt to its core. Perhaps Smenkhkare was chosen to stabilize the throne during those unsettled times. Perhaps he was married to one of Akhenaten's daughters, maybe even to the famous Nefertiti herself. The records are so scarce, the truth slides through our fingers like desert sand. And then comes the silence. Inscriptions stop. Reliefs end. A tomb at Amarna shows a figure who may have been Smenkhkare, but the body inside is missing. No burial has ever been found, no clear trace of his death. It is as though he were swallowed whole by history, erased by those who came after. Egypt was a place where erasure could be deliberate. Names were chiseled out, faces defaced, kings condemned to oblivion. Akhenaten himself suffered this fate. After his death, the priests of the old gods returned, eager to erase the memory of the pharaoh who had tried to cast them aside. they smashed his statues, abandoned his city, and wrote his name out of the records. Was Smenkhkare caught in this same purge? Or did he meet an even stranger end? What makes the mystery so haunting is how fragile his existence feels. In the British Museum, there is a small piece of jewelry, a ring engraved with the names of Smenkhkare and his queen. It proves he was real, not just a shadow, not just a confusion of titles. But how could a king, even a short-lived one, leave behind so little? Pharaohs built vast tombs. They covered walls with inscriptions. They ensured their names would last. For Smenkhkare, the silence feels intentional. It has led some to wonder if Smenkhkare was never a separate king at all, but another identity, another mask worn by someone else. Could he have been Nefertiti herself, ruling briefly under a male name? Some scholars have suggested that, after Akhenaten's death, Nefertiti took the throne to protect her children, using the name Smenkhkare as a disguise. If true, this would make the mystery even deeper, because it would mean the missing pharaoh was never missing at all, only hiding in plain sight. But the mummy hunters of the 19th and 20th centuries never uncovered his body. When Tutankhamun's tomb was found in 1922, dazzling the world with golden treasures, it seemed perhaps the mystery of Amarna would be solved. But Tutankhamun's tomb was small, hastily prepared, as if someone else had died suddenly and the burial had been rearranged. Some coffins in Tutankhamun's tomb may even have originally been intended for someone else, possibly Smenkhkare. If so, Tutankhamun's rise to power might have been linked to Smenkhkare's sudden vanishing. Like a half-forgotten dream, Smenkhkare hovers at the edge of Egypt's story. A king without a tomb, a reign without monuments, a body without a burial. The pharaoh who disappeared without a trace. The 20th century brought with it the tools of modern archaeology, and with them came new attempts to uncover Smenkhkare's fate. Deep in the Valley of the Kings, tomb after tomb was opened, each with fragments of clues. Some scholars thought his body might lie in tomb KV55, a strange burial discovered in 1907. Inside was a desecrated coffin, the name chiseled away, the face mask ripped out. Within it lay a mummy so badly damaged that it was difficult to identify. For years, this body was argued over. Some believed it was Akhenaten, others Smenkhkare. The bones told a confusing story. At one time thought to be a young man of about 25, at another thought to be older. The coffin had been made for a king, but later defaced, as though someone had wanted to bury this ruler in disgrace. If it was Smenkhkare, it would explain why his memory seemed deliberately destroyed. If it was Akhenaten, then Smenkhkare remained missing still. Modern science stepped in to try to settle the debate. DNA testing was performed on several mummies from the Amarna period, comparing genetic lines of Tutankhamun, Akhenaten, and other royal family members. The results suggested the KV55 body was indeed Tutankhamun's father, very likely Akhenaten himself. If so, then Smenkhkare was not there. His body remains unfound. This mystery has only deepened with time. Some Egyptologists believe Smenkhkare may have died suddenly, in the chaos following Akhenaten's religious revolution. Perhaps he was killed, his burial hurried, his name deliberately erased to cleanse Egypt of the Amarna heresy. Others hold that he never existed independently, that Smenkhkare was simply another name for Nefertiti, or even for a young Tutankhamun before he fully took the throne. In this view, Smenkhkare is less a vanished king, more a phantom born of shifting titles and broken records. And yet, objects with his name survive. That small ring in the British Museum, inscriptions in Amarna tombs, a few references scattered like breadcrumbs across the desert of history. They tell us he was real, at least for a moment. He was crowned, he bore the titles of kingship, he ruled, even if only for a year. And then he was gone. There is something haunting about this. Egypt was a civilization obsessed with memory. Kings built stone monuments that could last for millennia. Their faces stared down from colossal statues. Their names were spoken in temple rituals long after death. To be forgotten was the ultimate punishment. And yet, here we are, more than 3,000 years later, struggling even to picture the face of Smenkhkare, unsure of whether he was a man, a woman, a shadow, or a name without a body. When night falls over the Valley of the Kings, the cliffs stand silent, their tombs hidden beneath the earth. Within them lie pharaohs whose names we still know, glittering in gold, preserved in linen. But somewhere, perhaps in a lost tomb yet undiscovered, perhaps in fragments buried in forgotten sands, lies the missing story of Smenkhkare. His disappearance is more than an unsolved riddle. It is a reminder of how fragile memory can be, even for those who once called themselves gods on earth. So we drift away tonight with that image, the absent king, a name half chiseled in stone, a story erased but not fully forgotten. The pharaoh who disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a whisper that still stirs across the desert winds. If you found this journey through forgotten history soothing and mysterious, consider subscribing, so together we can wander again through the strange and shadowed corners of the past.